It's our last week with 2-game NBA DFS slate, so we got to make it count here. So we do what we always do here on the Splash Play Bets channel. We're going to dig into my projections, compare them to some of the industry leaders out there, in particular our friends Stokastic, see what they have ownership-wise, in addition just in general in their projection set. We're going to hop over to Unabated, see what the market-based projections have for you today. If you are playing on PrizePicks, Underdog, or your regular prop bet sites out there. And we'll also check out some DFS sim lineups on Stokastic as well, without my data not involved at all, to find you guys the industry must-plays and my splash plays for today's video. Let's get into it. I injured my hamstring over the weekend, so that's great. Was running full speed against the kid because for some reason he thinks he's faster than me. He's not. He's 3. But me, an idiot, was like, let me get a good sprint out here. Being 40, you injure your hamstring, feels awful here. So I'm pushing through as best I can today, trying to keep a bright and cheery attitude, but I feel like I can't talk because my hamstring hurts, which is real stupid. Either way, though, we have the same matchups that we had over the weekend, so should be some interesting things to talk about here, matchup-wise, from what we saw a couple days ago. But your number one guy, Jason Tatum, $9,700. I've been 52.9 fantasy points. Stokastic has been 51.6, 43% ownership expected to go his way. I'm getting in 48% of my top 150 lineups. So Jason Tatum last game, Knicks lost by about 31 points in that one. I think that's actually the number on the nose. Lost by 31 points. For Karl-Anthony Towns, and he played a good amount of minutes. Jason Tatum, though, playing a good amount of minutes as well, as you're going to see in the popcorn machine here. So a couple guys we're going to talk about up top. Tatum, the most important one, though, your only guy over 50 fantasy points in the slate. And last game, with the game being, actually, the max lead was 31. That's my bad. Ended up closing here, winning by, I wish this would play on the same screen. You ended up winning by 24. So that's the final score there, or 22. So for Jason Tatum, despite the game being mostly out of hand, he played almost 40 minutes in that game, could have tacked on another 2 at the end of that. So he could have gotten you to about 42, 43 minutes in the game. Certainly with the spot right now where Boston doesn't want to end up being like Cleveland, really unexpected 3-1 deficit for the Cavs in their series. Boston clearly is what they showed over the weekend. You'd expect it to be a runaway game again. I would say that for Tatum, you're guaranteed the minutes no matter what. Whether Boston runs away with this one or not, we'll see. I certainly thought, game 2 of the Thunder series, thought that the Thunder really established some things that showed they were going to run away from Denver. Ends up not being the case in that following game. So I want to try to not overreact myself, even though I think the tendency is going to be to really overreact when you see an ass-kicking game like we saw Boston have, like we saw OKC have. Obviously, Denver found its depth, ended up holding OKC at bay the next time out. For New York, I mean, look, it's going to be a loud MSG crowd again. Hopefully they won't let him down this time. I think your main beliefs there. But no matter what, Tatum's going to play the minutes. That's really your main thing. If they blow him out, if they hang competitively, Tatum is there. So I think getting Tatum a good amount of the field today feels pretty good. Our guy, I'm a loser here, which is always a tough name to read out loud, even though I know it is mostly ironic. I appreciate the content. Like Tatum and Butler today. These are my 2 top projected guys. So you'll get there. Jimmy Butler, $8,500 salary for him. Also played 40 minutes last game for Golden State. Let's pull up the popcorn machine here. Jimmy Butler, 43 minutes last game. Obviously, for the Timberwolves, they're safely ahead. You heard some quotes post-game from Anthony Edwards talking about, I guess, players on the Warriors themselves were like, he was talking trash. It was like, you guys are waiting for Wardell to come back, waiting for Steph Curry to come back. They're trying to push it to a game 6 to have that shot of Steph Curry returning from his hamstring injury. 2 greats afflicted by a hamstring injury in the same time period. But Jimmy Butler is going to be out there no matter what. Again, they are pretty safely ahead here for in the home stretch of the game. Jimmy Butler didn't come out. They didn't call off the dogs here, save him for the few minutes at the end. I think for Jimmy Butler, you're getting your 40 minutes as long as the game isn't like a 30-point blowout kind of situation. If you don't get the minutes there, it probably just means that Golden State got smoked. They went to the scrubs early, which is something that's happened earlier in the series. Though even that, Jimmy Butler, I think, got fourth quarter run a couple games ago when they were getting their ass kicked. So Jimmy Butler at this point, I think he's a safe play as well. I would say that to me and how I view the slate, Tatum and Butler probably your 2 safest minutes guys in terms of them having the minutes, because for Boston trying to avoid the 3-1, Golden State trying to avoid the 3-1. Boston obviously a much better shot of doing that today. But I would say for Jimmy Butler here, feels pretty good to me. 65% ownership, 49% is where he's at in Stokastic's ownership. $8,500 salary is just too cheap for him with a 49-point projection for me, and actually 0.2 higher from Stokastic. Not playing showdown, so I can't tell you. But usually it's going to be your highest scorers, and then what actually ends up winning is going to be your guys a little bit behind that. So Randall won the other slate. We did a showdown on Thursday as captain. Talked about him being a pivot point to Anthony Edwards, Jimmy Butler in that game. Probably the same thing again today, but your best projected guys will be Butler, will be Edwards, will be Tatum in the Boston game. For Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, so a tale of 2 players here where I'm getting like no Anthony Edwards at all. Only 5% of my top 150 fields at 40. For Karl-Anthony Towns getting 93%, fields at 39. So For Towns here, the big thing is that I have 6 fantasy points higher than Stokastic does. It's been the case for most of the year. He's played pretty well. One thing that stood out to me over the weekend with the last game the Knicks played, Towns got up to about a 30% usage rate, which is a little bit behind Jalen Brunson, but still back up to where he was during the regular season. So I think that's a good sign for Towns. The other main thing is that he's 7,500. I think the price tag is way too low for a guy that last game played 37-ish minutes. I think a little bit short of that. Go back to Popcorn Machine for a second here. Yeah, Towns played 36.5 minutes, didn't play the last, 3 minutes here? Yeah, 3 minutes. So he probably could have gotten you to 40 flat. Towns also 21 points, 14 peripherals, minus turnovers. Had a good day for himself. I've been a big believer in Towns all regular seasons we've talked about. He's one of those players where I've chased him into the playoffs in the hopes that he would continue to pay off as he did all regular season. Now his price tag is so low. This is a guy that started the playoffs high 8s. Now we're down to 7,500. He's playing legit minutes. Mitchell Robinson, they really can't keep on the court for too much either with his foul trouble. Or basically, if he's on the court, they're trying to put him on the line and he can't hit free throws at all. So I would say for Towns, I feel safe about the minutes, like the production overall. The Celtics get, too far ahead, Towns will be out there trying to get up shots because that's really one of the ways they can make up the point production. So I think Towns also a safe play. I feel a little bit less safe about him than I do Tatum and Butler because Towns, I think the Knicks have a better shot at getting their ass kicked and blown off the court again as Boston tries to even up the series. But Towns getting in 93% of my lineups right now, Fields at 39. He looks like a great play to me. He's probably going to be the top value on the slate when we sort by that in a moment as well. Jalen Brunson, 35% of my top 150, Fields at 41% for him. Same thing as has been all playoffs for him. He's getting about 30% usage or more than that in every game. He has not lost any usage at any point during the series, so he feels safe in that respect. He's $700 more expensive than Karl-Anthony Towns, though. Now I'd have Towns 2.5 points projected higher. So I prefer Towns personally, still getting Brunson a good amount. 35% for me, 41% for the field. Jaylen Brown, his usage has come up a little bit as well. Playoff-wise, he's now at about 30% usage across all the games so far in the playoffs for Boston. Jaylen Brown definitely not as high of an upside as Jason Tatum at this point. And frankly, a lot of rumors swirling that if Boston loses the series, Jaylen Brown's probably the first guy getting shipped out there, even though they could ship out a couple guys, frankly, because they are so close to, I think, like one of the highest payrolls ever. If they were to try to keep everybody next year, I don't even think they can do that technically. They'd have to pay a gigantic luxury tax with whatever the apron is. But for Jaylen Brown, that said, playing for staying in Boston. I don't know who he's playing for. He's 7,200's the main thing, going to play a good amount of minutes. It's similar to Jason Tatum, though not getting quite as much minutes. Jaylen Brown last game played 36 minutes. Could have tacked on another 2 more if the game weren't a blowout. For Jaylen Brown, I think the minutes are secure. The price tag looks good. I prefer him to Derek White, getting him 63% and Derek White at 45. Both guys strongly in play, though, because the salaries are pretty cheap, and they both are certainly pivot points where if they have a good day, Tatum probably had a worse day. So Tatum's ownership being at 43%. If you play Brown, you play White. It's your most obvious way to kind of not play Tatum and try to capture, Boston having outlier production. Julius Randle's been great, really, the playoffs so far, in particular, last game, triple-double for him. Having people like Bill Simmons walking back, I guess all the negative things they said about Randle over the last few years was the thing that we talked about in round 1 where Anthony Edwards really said, publicly, I want to get other guys shots. I want to defer a little bit more so other guys can get going on the team. That's helped a little bit for guys like Jaden McDaniels, guys as well, in particular like Julius Randle, where he's been getting more usage. The opportunity's been there as much as it was in the regular season, if not more. Rate-wise for Randle in the playoffs so far, he's averaging 1.1 fantasy points a minute on 27% usage and a 30% assist rate, both of which I believe are up from the regular season. I could just quickly confirm that. Your Randle, 2% more usage, 7% more assist rate, exact same rebound rate. So Randle's been really good in the playoffs is the main thing here. And getting more possessions for himself too. So I don't love being under the field on him, but he is 7,700 now. I'm at a 39.5 projection. Stokastic has him at 40.1. I'm only getting him at 22% of my lineups right now. In my top 150, and the field's expected to be at 30%. Derek White, we just talked about a little bit. He and Jaylen Brown functionally very similar plays. Jaylen Brown, a little bit better projection, a little bit better value, but Derek White certainly would hit if Jaylen Brown were to fail and miss some more shots, or to have a pretty good shot at doing that. For Derek White, 45% ownership in my top 150, Fields at 35. I think he's a strong play at 6,700, even though I don't think he's egregiously cheap at that price tag. That feels about right, even though in the regular season for the Boston with the star players being Q tags a lot of guys were missing games there. Derek White got priced up a little bit too high. I think the $6,700 price tag is about right for him with him playing about 38.3 minutes projected here. We got Josh Hart, 38% for me, 35% for the field. He's been my favorite Knicks wing in the playoffs so far, but frankly, Anunoby's passed him up enough. I would certainly not begrudge you if you wanted to go more that way. But the projection, again, the longer-term sample size for Josh Hart, as well what the rates have been in the playoffs, which is still part of my data here. Josh Hart's been good enough at 6,500 to take your shots with him playing likely about 40 minutes. Kuminga getting the usage up, as we warned about, I guess here, talked about when Steph Curry first went out, that Jonathan Kuminga would probably get more minutes. Ended up having a pretty good game last time out. Had about, I think, a 30% usage rate in that last game. Let me just check this real fast. Not that it matters, but I like to say things that are accurate if we can. Kuminga played 35 and a half or 35, almost 36 minutes, 28.5% usage, 30 fantasy points, 30 real life points, 46.5 fantasy points. So, and he was also one of few guys on the team with a positive plus minus. Kuminga's probably to get more run today. I think, frankly, I don't love being flat with the field on the ownership because I do think Kuminga's got a pretty good shot getting his run up exponentially. If he weren't to play as many minutes as expected, it would probably be because Gary Payton and Buddy Hield played more minutes together. Those two guys do play some minutes together, but for the most part, they're taking the same minutes from each other. If they're going to play more, Kuminga probably plays less. So if Kuminga plays poorly, those guys probably come in for a little bit more. But Kuminga at 42% ownership, I think being with the field at the very least seems like a move. He played really well last time out. I don't know if he's going to have as many games that are as great as that, but he was good all year for the most part. He's just not a great defender, not a plus rebounder. He just doesn't do a whole lot besides get shots up, and sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. But Kuminga at this point, they just need scoring. So I think he'll be out there. He was in the game really the last, looks like here. Actually, I got to go up the popcorn machine. Looking at a different version of the rotations on my laptop. So you can see here, Kuminga played the last 20 minutes of the game, basically. They didn't take him off the court. No guarantee that happens again, but it is a pretty big showing here. Frankly, same thing in the first half as well. They saw what they liked from the starting group, didn't like a whole lot, went to Kuminga, same thing in the second half here. It didn't help them not lose the game, but it kept them competitive. So I think Kuminga probably locked in for a good amount of minutes here. And again, if he were to play poorly, then you probably get more Payton, more Hield. Draymond Green, the last option here, 37% in the top 150 for me. Fields at 29%. Think he looks good because of the $5,500 price tag. The issue is he's not doing a whole lot out there. He's also more concerned about his perception and how the media talks about him, even though he's such an asshole on the court. Either way, though, Draymond Green, $5,500, good price tag for him. Certainly, if you're not going to play Kuminga, Draymond Green at that price tag would be another way to do that and try to capture a Warrior production there without playing Kuminga. So there's a logic to him today. We'll sort by value here, checking the chats. Watching interview today with Drew Holiday, had the sniffles and his eyes red, so I think he's under the weather. Like Pritchard today for me. No, that means nothing, but cause and effect can happen. Sure. I would think that if he's doing interviews publicly, the Vegas total's probably caught up for that because Smart Action will also place a bet if they think it matters. But you can always follow your heart. You're really not going to find an edge for things like that too often. And an NBA playoff situation, maybe a regular season for the Hornets or something you might. Yeah, I don't think it matters that much. Top value, guys, right now. Gary Payton, 25 minutes, the projection here. I think that's what he played last game. Just checking that on this tab here. You played 25.6 minutes last game. Again, certainly could play a little bit more if Buddy Hield's shots on falling at all. You could see Hield goes out. We got Gary Payton coming in. Hield comes in. Payton goes out. Hield goes out again. Payton comes in. Payton goes out, Hield comes in. Point being is like these guys do have a push-pull here. There's a few minutes they play together with Hield and Gary Payton, but I would probably be more inclined to isolate these guys in lineups together. At the very least, I would say max 2 out of 3 out of Hield, Payton, and Kuminga. Think that for Gary Payton, he's an okay play here. He's not a great producer, but he's the only guy on the slate who's playable at 3,200. So you get him a good amount here. He's like a shittier version of Alex Caruso, I would say, in terms of how he was played on a bunch of slates. Gary Payton, too cheap for what the role is, but not good enough to guarantee you're going to get that production. Unless he has outlier production in stocks, knocks down some threes, and that's not always a guarantee for old Gary Payton II. But I got him at 86% of my lineups, Fields at 34. That 3,200 is just too much for you for what you're getting up top. Towns, again, a top value for me here. 93% of my lineups, Fields at 39. Really big stand. I don't know if it'll be practically as high when I get there. Probably more like a 70% stand for me. But I think Towns at 7,500 is way too cheap. He's produced well in this Boston series. And frankly, with Porzingis being whatever lingering illness stuff with him, some people speculating it's long COVID out there and one of the worst outcomes of long COVID for him. Just like the Knicks have had an answer for him so far, or the Celtics had an answer for him so far. So for Towns, I still like him here, but certainly a big stand for me on him. Kuminga, we talked about enough already, flat with the field at 42%. Butler, we talked about. Brown, we talked about. Tatum, Hart, Hield, we haven't. So Hield again, talked about it in the prism of Gary Payton. Those guys playing for basically the same backcourt / wing minutes overall. Kuminga as well takes minutes from that same kind of picture there. But really for me at this point, Buddy Hield's been an okay play. Do you think they seem to fall to love him pretty fast if he's not hitting shots? And that's perfectly fine given the fact that his defense is not that good. But Hield last game, 14 points. Actually, is this? Yeah, 14 points, 11 peripherals minus turnovers. Hield to me, not the kind of player I'm sweating and trying to get into every lineup. 42% feels like a lot to me. Getting him at 26% feels a little bit low. I feel like he should be in probably about a third of your lineups. And lineups that don't have him, I would boost Payton for sure. And I'd consider boosting Kuminga too. Towns being banged up and Randall only being 200 more makes me not like Towns at all. Towns been banged up all year. I frankly would not have that be a reason not to play Towns, but you can follow your heart. Derek White, we talked about. Draymond, we talked about. Podziemski, we haven't. Podziemski last game played 30. Wow, he played 39 minutes. Okay, so just shy of 40 minutes for Podziemski. Did really nothing out there in terms of the usage for Podziemski last game. And sorry, my eyes are moving all over the place because I have different sites open to show usage for games in addition to the popcorn machine stuff. I show you guys on screen. So usage for Podziemski was at 13%, which is not very good. 40 minutes is pretty good. Podziemski could certainly have a better day than he had last time out. I don't think there's a guarantee he's a good play, though. So 34% for the field. I can get 50 and not be mad at it. Think that the minutes really being there is the main thing for him. Frankly, if Hield played well, Payton played well, maybe there's a chance he could play Podziemski off the court. But they've really trusted him at a tier higher than the other guys. You can see here at the popcorn machine, 43 minutes for Butler, 39 for Podziemski. Everybody else is like 35 or less. I mean, Kuminga's at 36, basically. Just a pretty big minutes gap here with Butler, Podziemski, than the next tier of guys. So I think Podziemski's minutes could be safe, but it's a playoff spot. It's 3-1. They're trying to make sure they get to game 6. So Steph can return from his hamstring injury. Things can't get weird for Podziemski. So like being over on any warrior that's not Butler, I think feels a little bit spooky. Towns, similar thesis to Jokic. He could easily outscore centers by 20. I would agree. Towns went out. You can't say that definitively. I mean, again, like my projection, and my projection is not everything, but I do have Towns projected for 46 and Randall projected for 39.5. Like a 7-point projection difference is pretty high. I'm not saying that like Towns is a lock to outscore Randall, but I don't think with what we're seeing here, what I'm seeing here, I would think that he's a guarantee. It's like, and that's the recency bias stuff. Like Randall's been better in the playoffs overall, but Towns still had 30% usage last game and they got beaten by, 25 points or whatever. Like it can get better for Towns pretty easily. It's hard for it to get better for Randall than it was last game with a triple double. For Boston, we'll go game by game review real fast. So we'll go to the betting markets with Unabated. They'll run our DFS sim on Stokastic. We'll call it a day and give you guys the splash plays for the day. We got Boston, 107.3 implied points. New York, 6.5-point dog at home here. Tatum, Brown, White coming a good amount. My favorite play of the group, ownership-wise, right now is Jaylen Brown, but still above the field on Derek White, above the field on Tatum as well. Drew Holiday, Horford, I'm lower on. Drew Holiday's sick, apparently, so feeling great about that take. Horford at 5K feels a little bit expensive for him, but his minutes have been better. With Porzingis, Porzingis really is the biggest thing killing Boston right now. If he gets healthy at some point, it'd be better, but he's been unhealthy for like a month now. Porzingis only played 19 minutes last game, rounding up. It's not a great run out for Porzingis last game. Probably not really in play today, unless you know something that the data does not. Peyton Pritchard played really well last game. Thought that was an interesting thing to see, given how poorly he played to start the playoffs, barely getting any shots up at all. Last game, he got to, I think, 20% usage. Checking that right now. He got to 24% usage, 35.5 DK points in 34 minutes and change. Seems like he maybe took a few minutes away from Drew Holiday in that spot. So Drew being ill perhaps opens things up for Pritchard more. Like chat was talking about before. But I would say for Pritchard here, not a guarantee the minutes are there, and he has not produced spectacularly in the playoffs so far. But getting with the field 10% at least seems like a good move. 4,500. He's definitely mispriced if he does play 35 minutes again, or 34 minutes and change. For New York, Brunson, not as priority of a play for me as Towns. Both guys come to a good amount, though. Towns, again, just way too cheap at 7,500. I'll die on that hill today. Randall's now at the apex of his price tag. Towns is, based on the regular season performance, he's 2,500 less than he was at his apex price tags as well. For Towns, I just think he's way too cheap for the matchup, given the fact he's actually played pretty well this Boston series. Josh Hart, 38% for me, 35% for the field. Still think the same thing, though. We've talked about all playoffs. Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby. These guys, if you flatten out the ownership, is totally fair. Just Bridges produced so poorly in the regular season. I'm not getting there very much. Today, you're accounting for the matchup and what the rates are. I'd have Josh Hart at 0.9 fantasy points a minute and Anunoby at 0.8. Mikal Bridges at 0.7. So I'm not a Bridges fan, but he's hit enough games here that I think if you were to treat these guys the same player, you'd probably do well for yourself. Mitchell Robinson coming in a little bit here as a value at 3,700. Certainly only playing him in lineups without Towns. Towns probably is getting foul trouble. Mitchell Robinson has hit some free throws. But the good news is, like, with the free throw hunting they're doing on him, where they're forcing him to the line a lot, hack a Mitchell Robinson. This has been the strategy a few times throughout the series so far. If he hits the free throws, that's some free fantasy points. It's hard for him to hit the free throws. And if he doesn't hit the free throws, he gets played off. So a little bit of risk reward thing for Mitchell Robinson today at his price tag. A little surprised to see so much Golden State as value plays, but it does seem like they're doing enough to try and stay competitive. Appreciate the insights. Thank you for that, Braden. And yeah, the main thing for the Golden State here is that total's not great. When you take out a Steph Curry, it's just too many opportunities left behind in terms of assists, in terms of usage and all that. So those guys are all getting those. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to me that Butler and Kuminga are sort of a tier above in terms of usage than everybody else. But you have guys like Podziemski playing 40 minutes. It's just hard to ignore, that much court time. Minnesota, 102.8 implied points. Golden State, 97.8, so 5-point dog is Golden State at home. Really, Minnesota not coming a ton for me here. Anthony Edwards only 5%, Fields at 40. Ant's not a bad play to me, getting him as a 5x value, but $9,500 price tag's a little bit tough when I have Towns projected basically 1 fantasy point lower. Julius Randle, you might think the same way as Jake does in the chat, with Randle being a better player than Towns. I just don't see it projection-wise based on what these guys have done all year. That said, Randle does get a usage boost for me, an assist boost, because he has played better. Has played better in the playoffs so far than he did play in the regular season. So I think Towns a worthwhile play today. Do you think people will point chase a little bit because of that triple-double last game when all it takes is Jaden McDaniels getting a few more shots up with the amount of minutes he's playing? Very much a similar projection of minutes to Julius Randle. Anthony Edwards, if he has a real outlier day, that certainly eats away from Julius Randle a little bit. Think you saw the best Julius Randle game, and even though he's been good all playoffs, I just think people are going to chase it like Jake is talking in the chat. Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert. I prefer McDaniels, but both guys similar price tags. Gobert's minutes have not been the best so far, the most reliable. Did play 27 minutes last game. You could see kind of getting jerked around in minutes. Only played about a 5-minute stint up top. Got in foul trouble. That was his 4th, I think. He got in foul trouble, so that's a big reason why. But then didn't get in foul trouble again, and then they still didn't play him. So Rudy Gobert, the foul trouble's a risk. Naz Reid there's a risk. Playing Randall at the 5 is a risk for him as well. There's a lot of ways they can go that don't involve Gobert, even though it still feels like you can get that Gobert, closing game versus the Lakers situation where he goes full Moses Malone and kind of puts up a bunch of rebounds, a bunch of shots at the rim, and that's basically it for him, and he wins the slate. At 5,800, I'm not there, getting a lot more Jaden McDaniels, and I do think McDaniels, because of the court time and how he's played, I'd say if you play Edwards and McDaniels, probably not playing Randall's the move, because I think if those guys both hit, Randall probably did not. Naz Reid, 20%, 30% for the field. Think he's a good play at 4,600, but not a great play. DiVincenzo, same thing here. He's in the rotation, projected for 25-ish minutes, but a 22% ownership for me, 25% for the field. Mike Conley, also in the rotation, but not really guaranteed any minutes, really. Played 28 minutes last game. DiVincenzo was down to 16. That could easily flip if DiVincenzo's playing well and Conley isn't. For these two guys, really would probably say max 1. Certainly don't want to get Alexander Walker and Conley and DiVincenzo together, but they all are cheap and they all have similar opportunity. Just none of them is really a great play on paper. Golden State game-by-game view. We got Jimmy Butler. We talked about him enough already. 65% for me, 49% for the field. Draymond, 37 for me, 29 for the field. Podziemski with the field. Kuminga with the field at 34 and 42%. Buddy Hield him a little bit low on. Gary Payton a little bit high on. More than 2x the ownership there. You're going to get Golden State a good amount. Trace Jackson-Davis, Quentin Post have started 2 games lately for Golden State. Both guys played stints and then got jerked around after that. Trace Jackson-Davis played, I think, the first quarter and the third quarter. He came in, started with a mediocre little 5-minute stint, basically. Didn't play again. Second half, another mediocre 5-minute stint. Then didn't play until the game was out of hand. They brought in the scrubs. So I think for Jackson Davis, not a lot to love. I guess there's some world where if he plays well, he could also be a guy who eats into Kuminga's minutes. Interesting to see him get minutes at all, but he and Quentin Post feel like they've both played each other or played themselves out of the rotation. Not really sure I'm buying into a whole lot of Trace Jackson-Davis, even though, again, started last game. That's it for Golden State. This other guy's probably not in play very much at all either. So very kind of consolidated rotation, 3-1 elimination game here for Golden State. That's the game-by-game view with my data here. We're going to go to Unabated next, guys, to see what they have for us. Of course, the Unabated, we're going to use market-based data. So what they do is create a projection off of weighting of the top sports books out there. So a little bit different than their traditional projections, which are actually premium data, I guess I would say. Proprietary data is a better way to say it, created by Justin Fan and his crew. It's more of a market-based look on everything. So let's see what we got Unabated right here as I log in. Of course, Unabated's conditional projections are the big money maker there, but market-based stuff is also fine. As we always talk about here, market-based data, as I know from my time running a startup that used market-based betting data, generally want a 2% or higher ROI. You can get away with a 1% or higher ROI, but for the most part, 2% will make you feel safe. For sim numbers, like using Justin Fan's proprietary data here, you want a 5% or higher ROI because it's not really based off of something rooted in the markets. But basically, 2 ways to win money with Unabated for sure. And they are a great product. Check them out yourself. Again, a great partner for you during the regular season. Right now, they're just an affiliate deal for me to go get 20% off for yourself down below with Unabated monthly packages. I don't think they have weekly, but they have the rest of the NBA season. Really, for WNBA is the one I would get in. Frankly, their WNBA data will probably make a crushing, would be my guess. And I actually probably not going to do content around WNBA, but I might tail some of their stuff. Really, we'll see. If WNBA has big tournaments, I could see making WNBA projections. I don't know. Keep your eyes peeled here on this channel because this will be where it would be if I do any WNBA stuff. Support the ladies. SGA coming up in a game on the 13th, so coming up tomorrow. We got SGA under 32.5 PRAs, minus 110 odds on DraftKings, gets you 4.1% EV for SGA, only playable on DraftKings today, under 32.5 points, that is, coming up for the game tomorrow with OKC and Denver. Same thing for tomorrow's game, as we talk about a lot here. When you have 2 games for the day, or 2 days rather for the games, you got to get stabilized. The markets will tighten up the lines enough. So not terribly surprising to see there aren't a ton of bets for today's couple games. But there are ones for tomorrow. So TJ McConnell again, 2.9% EV, under 7.5 points, minus 110 odds on DraftKings. Minutes got a little bit higher for him yesterday because of the fact they smoked Cleveland so really bizarrely and thoroughly. McConnell, good play for points right now. Under, that is. Biggest chase play, Pritchard, Randall, or Kuminga. They all are to varying extents. Based on how the playoff run has gone so far and what you need, I would say probably Kuminga, just because they could certainly not go that way. Actually, you know what? It's got to be Pritchard, because Pritchard really didn't even get shots up throughout the playoffs so far. Then yesterday they were like, all right, fine, time for him to get some usage. That went away. Kuminga makes sense because they have to get somebody to get shots up without Curry. Randall's been playing well all playoffs. I think Pritchard's probably the most chasey. And ownership-wise, too, Pritchard will be the least owned of that group. Pascal Siakam. So actually, maybe that would inherently make him not the most chasey. I don't know. It's a good question by Jake, though. But I think based on the results, it'd be Pritchard. Based on the ownership, it's probably Kuminga. Pascal Siakam, under 6.5 rebounds, minus 125 odds on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a 2.8% EV. Again, another bet for tomorrow's games. The Siakam, under 6.5 rebounds, looking good right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Tyrese Halliburton, over 3.5 rebounds, minus 154 odds on DraftKings. Your best bet right now. It's a 2.5% EV for the over 3.5 rebounds for Tyrese Halliburton. And those are all the bets we want to take here. Assist-wise, and probably not a lot for tonight's games, but maybe some inefficient lines for tomorrow. It looks like that's a really inefficient Neesmith one. All right, Aaron Neesmith under 1.5 assists, 12.3% EV according to market-based data. So Aaron Neesmith playing tomorrow under 1.5 assists, 12.3% EV at minus 168 odds. A lot of juice, but still plus EV for Neesmith's assists under on FanDuel Sportsbook. Alex Caruso, you could round this one up and it works. Under 2.5 assists for him, minus 102 odds on FanDuel, gets a 2% EV. Really for Caruso, the big issue is that the bigs are needed a lot more in the series versus Denver. For Caruso, the run has not been nearly as good as round 1. So fading Caruso right now feels perfectly fine. And last but not least, our PRAs. We'll run a DFS sim on Stokastic and we'll call it a day. Making sure we're pulling in everything here. Now it's a resort. Really not a lot of PRAs bets you would take. If you want to take the Westbrook under 17.5 PRAs, you can. Halliburton under over 30.5 PRAs, you can. But it's not a 2% or higher EV. I don't feel great about it. So SGA under 45.5. If you're looking for bets just to fill out a card, just to get some action in, you can take these, but really, they're not great. They're not great bets. But under 45.5 PRAs for SGA, over 30.5 for Halliburton, under 17.5 for Westbrook are your bets you can take, though they're pretty flimsy. All right, Sim coming up next. Let's do this part of things. contest generator here on Stokastic. 5,000 lineups being built. We'll see these 5,000 lineups think. Appreciate Jake here. You're the man. Appreciate you and appreciate you asking questions, Jake, and giving your takes. Always good to hear that in chat. Show some love if you can, guys. Again, I'm doing these streams, even though really the money I make from this is not a whole lot, but I promise I'd be here throughout the entire season. So we're going to do it here after we worked so well with Unabated throughout the year. So please do subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. It all goes a long way for me here. Just one guy trying to run an NBA channel. We'll also do some MLB here at some point, maybe some WNBA, who knows? And of course, on my Splash Play Pod channel, got to get more in best ball shape and get more streams out there. But frankly, been a tough run timing wise with NBA, with MLB. But I am starting this week DraftKings daily or weekly drafts, I guess, on Stokastic. Tuesdays and Thursdays, going to be doing DraftKings best ball drafts on there. And we'll be expanding the amount of drafts I'm doing on the Splash Play Pod channel as well. So if you want to get some NFL content in, go do that. Check out Unabated, 20% off, link down below. Stokastic, 15% off, link down below. All their data, all their Sims products, it's 15% off in perpetuity. When you do sign up for anything on Stokastic, half the money that you're paying to them goes to me. So it does really help me put the show on here, which is really the main thing for me. I have to make sure I can actually make enough money to exist while doing these shows. So show some love if you can, do all that stuff. And of course, join the Discord as well if you want more access, including my data that you see on screen here, my projections. You get them for yourself, the Squirt Squad or the VIP tiers down below. But it does support the show directly. When you join the channel, you get access to the Discord as well. And of course, I'm in there very regularly, giving my takes and all that with more to come. Thank you, Squeak Diesel. I appreciate it. Appreciate all you guys watching. Trying the best I can here, guys. It's tough because I know I'm absolutely killing myself in terms of best ball views right now. Like for people who are not familiar, best ball being the NFL fantasy format where you can do drafts all year long and basically your lineups then start to come to fruition, weeks 1 through 17. But my brain is still very much in basketball mode because I'm doing MLB streams. That takes some time for me every day as well. So I got to ramp up my best ball stuff. But I've realized for myself, having 3 sports to focus on is not the best for my brain power. So I appreciate you guys being here. And I do make sure that I do the best I can every time I do a stream. But best ball has been the one suffering for me because I'm still very much in the NBA streets, playing the most money here every day, playing MLB with a good amount of money every day. So it's been a lot, but I appreciate all you guys hanging out. And I will be on an MLB stream for Stokastic today as well at 5 p.m. So check that out, doing the DFS slate on there. Drew Holiday, Buddy Hield, your number 1 ROI lineup on Stokastic. Jason Tatum, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Gary Payton, Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler. So definitely a little bit of a Warriors lean here again, but you are getting Randle in. You're not getting my boy Towns. At number 2, Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Josh Hart, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and Kuminga. So you get Kuminga in this one again. Do get some more Wolves exposure, and that's really that. Number 3, you're getting Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, so double Jalen's again. Josh Hart again, Jaden McDaniels, Draymond Green, Gary Payton, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga. So, all right. Think that for this lineup, really no issue with it. I like most of it. Really surprised to see no Towns coming in so far. Looks like Towns gets in this one, though, at number 4. Jalen Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Josh Hart, Jonathan Kuminga, Mitchell Robinson makes this one. Gary Payton, Jimmy Butler, and Towns. I just don't think Towns and Robinson's a good move. Still think that Robinson's too cheap, and I guess they can both hit. But, your ceiling is capped if you're playing both those guys. So I just don't love it. The sim is telling you to do it, at least in this one of this top 5 lineups. Number 5 lineup here, and this will be the last one we look at before we go to the ROIs and the exposures. We got Jalen Brunson, Brandon Pajemski, Jason Tatum, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, Gary Payton, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. So that's your top 5 here. A good amount of Kuminga, but not an overwhelming amount of Kuminga. Seems like you're getting more Gary Payton overall because he's in 4 out of the top 5. A lot of Jalen Brunson and Jaylen Brown together. That seems to be a thing. More Mitchell Robinson than I would have thought. More Draymond, perhaps. But okay. Shout out Nolan for the super chat here. Hashtag exist and fuck McLovin. Yes. It's all we can do is exist. For a second, I thought it said sexist, and I was like, well, I don't know. I'm sure I've said a few things, but I don't know what it would be off the top of my head. Favorite team to take a stand on this one? I'm on the Knicks. I mean, I'll have the most Towns of anybody, so I guess that would probably be it for me. But certainly, I think the Knicks are the riskiest one because, they could blow this game, can go to 2-2 and still feel not that bad about it. Golden State cannot afford to get blown out here because then they're at risk of not getting Steph back. And also, just at that point, 3-1, not a lot of teams come back from 3-1. The Golden State, obviously, cutely familiar. I don't know. I think I'm probably going to have the most Towns, so that would be my stand there. But really, the 2 dogs, I think, are coming up the most, Knicks and Warriors. Gary Payton here, $3,200 salary, your highest ROI guy. So because of that salary being so low and the fact that he'll play 25 minutes and likely have an outcome, mean, you would hope at least 18 fantasy points, but 18 to 25 would be your range. I think that's most likely. He fits in lineups well. Gary Payton, though, again, can lose minutes to Buddy Hield. If Hield's playing well and Kuminga's playing well, I think that's where you can see Gary Payton's minutes get a little bit squeezed, even more so. But Payton, 3,200, too cheap at shooting guard, small forward. Jimmy Butler, your number 2 ROI guy. So despite him being pretty expensive at 8,500, at least relative to a slate, he does project pretty well for me, almost 49 fantasy points for him in my projection and Stokastics. The rates have been up for him quite a bit without Steph on the court. So Jimmy Butler here, a strong play today, though you're hoping that Golden State doesn't get smoked. Kuminga, same thing here. Minutes maybe a little bit insecure. They played 35 minutes last game, has played more minutes since Steph Curry got hurt because they have to get somebody who can actually get shots up with some efficiency. So Jonathan Kuminga in play today strongly, and he's your number 3 ROI guy. Naz Reid at number 4, Buddy Hield at number 5, Brandon Podziemski at number 6. Talked enough about a lot of these guys already. Josh Hart at number 7. So your top 7 ROI guys in order, according to Stokastic: Gary Payton, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Naz Reid, Buddy Hield, Brandon Podziemski, and Josh Hart. Your highest exposed guys: Jimmy Butler, 79%, Fields at 48. So pretty big stand on Jimmy Butler there, a 31% leverage. Jonathan Kuminga, 68% exposure, and Stokastic's top 150. Fields at 44, so 25% more on Jonathan Kuminga. Gary Payton, 60% compared to the Fields, 33. So almost a 2x stand in favor of Gary Payton. Buddy Hield in favor of him too. So really, this spot here, we've talked about a lot in the playoffs. Sometimes there's just a situation where you have 3 or 4 guys on a team competing for the same 2 or 3 kind of roles / production. It's happened before with the Knicks guys, the secondary Knicks guys, happened before the Detroit guys last series, and not just mention Knicks series, but like some examples that come to mind here. I think with what you're getting with Golden State is they're basically saying this third spot here for Golden State, second / third spot, is really important for these guys because there's minutes available, and one of these guys hitting probably makes for a winning lineup. So Kuminga, Payton, and Hield come up a lot here. Podziemski, same thing too. Frankly, I guess all 4. A lot of Golden State value. I would try to keep it so you're not playing all 4 in a lineup. I think that's a little bit harder to hit, but sort of an easy way to see where the Sims are doing here. You're getting 5 Golden State guys up top. Number 6 is Karl-Anthony Towns, 47% exposure, Fields at 39. So Stokastic is supporting me on Towns being a little bit too cheap. Glad to see that. And Josh Hart, 46% compared to the Fields, 36. So Knicks and Warriors, your only guys up top here in terms of exposure in Stokastic's top 150 lineups. Highest leverage guys going to look very similar: Butler, Payton, Kuminga, Naz Reid, Podziemski, Buddy Hield, Josh Hart. Really big stands on Butler, Payton, and Kuminga in particular. Though Naz Reid, 43% of your lineups having him is certainly not insignificant. And your biggest fades for Stokastic, your negative leverage guys: Anthony Edwards, negative 25% leverage. So Stokastic not playing him either. I didn't get him very much in lineups, as you guys saw, going only 5% or so. Jaden McDaniels here, negative 14%. I am lower on him with the price tag coming up, but I do think that Edwards and McDaniels, if you're going to play a lot of Randall, those guys would be the natural ones to play in lineups where you don't play Randall. Mike Conley, negative 13% leverage. Al Horford, negative 12. Minutes have been up for him with Porzingis being a disaster. Gobert, negative 11%. Not a lot of ownership coming Gobert's way for Stokastic users today. Peyton Pritchard, strong fade here by Stokastic, only 1% exposure. Fields at 11. Peyton Pritchard did play really well last time out, but it was legit his first good game of the playoffs, I believe. So for Peyton Pritchard, not a lot of love here in the sim. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker, only 1% rounded up in the top 150, which is fine because he's not very good, but he is competing for minutes theoretically with Conley and DiVincenzo. So that's the slate so far. I'll give you guys my splash plays in a moment. Before we do the one last run through the plugs, please subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. It all goes a long way for me here. Just one guy doing the best I can to keep a float here with the YouTube algorithm. People caring less about playoff NBA, but I still show up and do the work here. And much like you guys out there, I'm playing every slate. I have a lot of fun playing NBA. So I don't want it to end. This is our last week of 2-game slate. So by Friday, I think we're down to just 1 gamers, unless, there's some series that go long and some scheduling that moves around. So please show some love if you can, and let's enjoy this home stretch where we actually have multiple games and players to play in these spots. Unabated, 20% off, link down below. You know the deal there. You'd be up a lot of money if all you did was follow with Unabated's done all season long. Stokastic, 15% off, link down below as well for all their data, all their sim stuff. If you want their betting tool, Odd Shopper, you can also get that link down below for 50% off. Check out the Discord as well, $5 to join. You can also get in there for the projections I have and the exportable version of them as well with the Squirt Squad and the VIP tiers. So check those out. But either way, support the show for $5 if you can, because it does go a long way here. If everybody watched the shows, paid that $5, I would feel a little bit better about these summer months where there's less work for me to do that's comped. Gamble responsibly, guys, even though it's always money time here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow this channel at Splash Play Bets. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Another 2-game slate coming up then. So hopefully we'll have some good games today. Hopefully we won't be cruising towards elimination for everybody today, though nobody's going to get eliminated today, thankfully. But we'll see how that all goes. And hop to the Discord if you want to chat more about it. We'll be updating my data throughout the night as well. And I'll see you guys again soon. So 5 p.m. on Stokastic. Probably no best ball stream for me today, but tomorrow I think I'm going to do this stream, a best ball stream on the Splash Play channel, and then one on Stokastic's channel. So stay tuned for that coming up tomorrow. You'll get a lot of content from me no matter what. If you like to gamble on the things that I like to gamble on. So I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days and good luck. Bye-bye.